Pack your bags, we're done pretending you're family. Thanksgiving was supposed to be loud, warm, and full of forced smiles. That was the deal every year. No matter how awkward things got, no matter how many old arguments lurked under the surface, we all agreed to sit at the same table and pretend we were still a family. This year felt different the moment I stepped through the front door. The house smelled the same, roasted turkey, buttery rolls, cinnamon apples, but the air felt tight, like a storm waiting for permission to break. My mom didn't hug me when I arrived. She barely looked up from the counter, just nodded toward the living room like I was a delivery instead of her child. "Your coat can go there," she said flatly. "No, I missed you." "No, how was the drive?" "Nothing." My dad sat in his usual armchair, watching football, but he didn't greet me either. His eyes flicked toward me for half a second before returning to the screen. Strike two. I told myself not to overthink it. Holidays always brought out weird moods. Maybe they were stressed. Maybe something had gone wrong with dinner. Maybe, like always, it was somehow my fault. I was used to being the odd one out. By the time dinner was ready, everyone else had arrived. My older brother Mark with his wife, my younger sister Lily home from college, a couple of aunts, and my grandmother. Laughter filled the dining room, but it stopped whenever I spoke. Conversations rerouted around me like I was an obstacle instead of a person. I noticed the looks then. Not just irritation, calculated glances. Shared eye contact between my parents. My mom kept straightening the napkins, even though they were already perfect. Something was coming. We sat down. Plates were passed. The turkey was carved. Forks clinked. The first 10 minutes were painfully normal. Then my dad cleared his throat. That sound, sharp, deliberate, cut through the room like a knife. "Before we eat," he said, setting his fork down, "your mother and I have something to say." Every muscle in my body tightened. My mom folded her hands and smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "We've been talking for a while," she began, "and we think it's time to be honest." Mark suddenly found his mashed potatoes fascinating. Lily stared straight ahead, frozen. My stomach dropped. "Honest about what?" I asked. My dad finally turned toward me. His expression was cold, professional, almost rehearsed. "About you." The word hit harder than it should have. "Me." I repeated. My mom exhaled dramatically. "We're tired," she said. "Tired of pretending. Tired of defending you. Tired of explaining why you never seem to fit." The room went silent. I laughed once, short and nervous. "Is this a joke?" My dad's jaw tightened. "This isn't funny." My grandmother shifted uncomfortably. Maybe this conversation could wait. "No," my mom snapped. "It's happening now." She turned back to me, her smile gone completely. "We've done everything we could," she continued. "We gave you a home. Support. Opportunities. And what do we get? Embarrassment. Disappointment. Constant problems." I felt heat rise up my neck. "What are you talking about?" "You know exactly what," my dad said sharply. "Your choices. Your attitude. The way you make everything harder." "That's not fair," I said, my voice shaking despite my effort to control it. "I work. I stay out of trouble. And yet," my mom interrupted, "you never turned out like your siblings." There it was. Mark, the golden child. Lily, the academic star. And me, the reminder that something had gone wrong. My dad leaned forward, elbows on the table. "We're done pretending you're family." The words didn't register at first. Pretending. My fork slipped from my hand and clattered against the plate. What did you just say?" My mom stood up. "Pack your bags," she said, her voice sharp, final. "We're done pretending you're family." The room exploded. Lily gasped. "Mom." My grandmother stood. "This is outrageous." Mark finally looked up. "You can't be serious." But my parents didn't flinch. "We are," my dad said. "You're not welcome here anymore. Not tonight. Not after this." My chest felt hollow. "You're kicking me out." On Thanksgiving. You're an adult, my mom replied coolly. Figure it out. I looked around the table, desperate for someone, anyone, to say something. Lily's eyes were wet, but she stayed silent. Mark looked conflicted, but said nothing. My grandmother argued, but my dad shut her down with a raised hand. I realized then that this wasn't impulsive. This had been planned. I stood slowly, my legs trembling. So that's it. After everything. My dad nodded. That's it. I didn't cry. Not yet. I walked out of the dining room, the smell of turkey suddenly making me nauseous. My hands shook as I grabbed my coat. My mom followed me to the door, arms crossed. You'll thank us someday, she said. I turned back, finally letting the hurt show. For what? Abandoning me. She didn't answer. The door closed behind me with a sound that echoed louder than any scream. Outside, the cold air burned my lungs. I stood on the porch for a long moment, staring at the house I'd grown up in, now officially not mine. That was when my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. They didn't tell you the whole truth. If you want to know why they really did this, call me. My heart slammed against my ribs. Because suddenly, being kicked out wasn't the worst part anymore. The truth they buried. I stared at the message until the screen dimmed. Unknown number. No name. No explanation. Just a promise that made my stomach twist. I stepped off the porch and walked down the driveway, my breath fogging in the cold. The house behind me glowed with warm yellow light, Thanksgiving still happening without me. Laughter drifted faintly through the walls, muffled but unmistakable. Like I had already been erased. I got into my car and shut the door, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles ached. My phone buzzed again. Unknown. I know this is a lot. But they were never going to tell you. Please call. I hesitated. Every instinct screamed not to trust it. This could be a prank. A mistake. Or worse, someone trying to stir up drama when I was already broken. But something about the timing felt too precise. Too intentional. I hit call. It rang twice. Hello? A woman's voice answered. Quiet, strained, like she'd been holding her breath for years. Who is this? I asked. There was a pause. My name is Rachel. I don't know a Rachel. I know, she said softly. But I know you. My heart thudded. How? Another pause, longer this time. Because I'm your aunt. I let out a humorless laugh. That's not funny. I'm not joking, she said. And I'm not the aunt you know. I'm your mother's sister. Her younger sister. I frowned. My mom doesn't have a younger sister. She does, Rachel replied. She just pretends I don't exist. The words sent a chill through me that had nothing to do with the cold. Why are you contacting me now? I asked. Because what happened tonight was inevitable, she said. And because I can't stay silent anymore. I swallowed. About what? The reason your parents never treated you like the others, she said. The reason you were always different. My chest tightened. Say it. You're not their biological child. The world tilted. What? I whispered. They adopted you, Rachel continued, her voice shaking. But not the way you think. My mind raced. Adopted is still family. Yes, she said quickly. But they never saw it that way. And the truth is, you were never supposed to be theirs. I closed my eyes. You're going to have to explain that. I know, she said. But not over the phone. Where are you right now? In my car, I replied. Outside their house. Don't go back in, she said firmly. Please. Come to me. Why should I trust you? Because I tried to protect you once, she said. And I failed. I won't fail again. Her address came through moments later. I stared at it, heart pounding, then started the engine. Rachel lived about 30 minutes away, in a quiet neighborhood with narrow streets and modest houses. Nothing fancy. Nothing threatening. I parked in front of a small blue house with white trim. The porch light flicked on as I stepped out of the car. She was already waiting. Rachel looked nothing like my mother. Where my mom was rigid and polished, Rachel looked softer, tired eyes, loose sweater, hair pulled back in a messy bun. When she saw me, her hand flew to her mouth. "Oh," she breathed. "You look just like him." "Like who?" I asked. She swallowed. "Your father." "Not Dad. Father." She stepped aside and let me in. The house smelled like tea and old books. Warm. Lived in. The opposite of the home I'd just been exiled from. We sat at the kitchen table. Rachel wrapped her hands around a mug like it was grounding her. "I'm sorry," she said. "For tonight. For everything." "You said I wasn't supposed to be theirs," I said. "What does that mean?" Rachel took a deep breath. 16 years ago, she began, my sister, your mom, was desperate to have another child. But she couldn't. Complications. Doctors warned her not to try again. That part didn't surprise me. I'd heard whispers. She became obsessed, Rachel continued. Not with adoption agencies. Not with fostering. With control. My stomach sank. She found out I was pregnant, Rachel said. Unplanned. I was young. Scared. And she offered to help me. Help. She convinced me to stay with her and your dad during my pregnancy, Rachel said. Promised support. Promised I could figure things out afterward. My throat tightened. What happened? She pressured me, Rachel said quietly. Every day. Told me I wasn't ready. That I'd ruin my life. That the baby deserved better. I stared at her, heart racing. When you were born, she said, tears pooling in her eyes, they took you. Told me I had signed papers. Told me it was best. My hands shook. You gave me up. No, she said fiercely. They took you. The room spun. I fought, Rachel continued. I screamed. I threatened legal action. But they had money. Lawyers. I had nothing. I whispered, why didn't you come back? I tried, she said. For years. They shut me out. Threatened restraining orders. Told everyone I was unstable. My chest burned. They raised you, Rachel said. But never let you forget you didn't belong. That was their punishment, for me and for you. Memories flooded back. The distance. The comparisons. The feeling of always being tolerated, never loved. Tonight, Rachel said, they finally did what they've wanted to do for years. Get rid of me, I said. She nodded. Silence fell between us. Then anger surged, hot, sharp, undeniable. They lied, I said. Yes. They stole me. Yes. They ruined both our lives. Rachel reached across the table and took my hand. But now you know. And knowledge is power. I looked at her. Why tell me now? Because your grandmother is sick, she said. And secrets have a way of surfacing when time runs out. My heart skipped. What secrets? Rachel's jaw tightened. The ones your parents are most afraid of, she said. And the reason they cut you off tonight. I leaned forward. Tell me. She met my eyes. Because you're about to inherit something they never wanted you to have. What was never meant to be mine. Inherit. I repeated. Inherit what? Rachel didn't answer right away. She stood up and walked to a small cabinet by the wall, unlocking it with a key she wore on a thin chain around her neck. From inside, she pulled out a thick manila folder, edges worn like it had been opened and closed too many times. She placed it on the table between us. This, she said. I stared at it like it might explode. That's not an answer. It is, Rachel replied gently. Just not a simple one. My hands hovered over the folder before I finally opened it. Inside were documents, copies of birth records, legal papers, letters. My name jumped out at me immediately. My real name. Not the one my parents had given me. I sucked in a sharp breath. They changed it. Yes, Rachel said. They wanted a clean slate. No ties to me. No ties to the past. My fingers trembled as I flipped through the pages. One document made my stomach twist, a handwritten letter, the ink slightly faded. "That's from my father," Rachel said quietly. "Your grandfather." I looked up. "The grandmother who was at dinner tonight." She nodded. "Yes. And he passed away 5 years ago." I swallowed hard. Why didn't I know? "Because they hid it," she said. "Just like they hid everything else." I unfolded the letter carefully. "To my grandchild, if you are reading this, then the truth has finally reached you. You were never unwanted. You were never a mistake. What was done to you was done out of fear and selfishness, not love." My vision blurred. "He knew," I whispered. "He suspected," Rachel corrected. "And when he confirmed it, he made arrangements." "For what?" "For you." I kept reading. "I have set aside what I can to make sure you are protected, no matter what stories you were told. No one has the right to erase you." I lowered the letter slowly. "Protected how?" Rachel exhaled. "Your grandfather left you a trust." The word echoed in my head. "A trust?" I said. "Like money?" "Yes," she said. "And property." My heart started racing. "How much?" Rachel hesitated. "Enough that your parents would never want you to find out," she said carefully. Everything clicked at once. The coldness. The planning. The timing, right before the holidays, right before family lawyers would be involved. "They didn't just kick me out," I said. "They were cutting me off before I could claim it." Rachel nodded. "If you weren't family, they thought you wouldn't question it." My hands clenched into fists. "So they used Thanksgiving to erase me?" "Yes." Anger surged through me like electricity. "My grandmother," I said suddenly. "You said she's sick." Rachel's face tightened. "Very. And she knows." "She knows the truth," Rachel said. "And she regrets staying silent." A bitter laugh escaped me. Funny how regret always shows up late. Rachel didn't argue. "What happens now?" I asked. "That depends on you," she said. "Legally, you have rights. Strong ones." I shook my head. "I don't even know who I am anymore." She reached across the table again. "You're someone who survived being erased." That night, Rachel insisted I stay. She set me up on the couch with blankets, but sleep didn't come easily. My mind replayed every moment from my childhood through a new lens. Every time my parents hesitated to say, "I love you." Every birthday that felt obligatory. Every achievement that was met with comparison instead of pride. It wasn't my imagination. It never had been. The next morning, my phone exploded with notifications. Missed calls. Texts. Voicemails. From my parents. I stared at the screen in disbelief. "Mom, we need to talk." "Dad, come home. Now." "Mom, there's been a misunderstanding." My chest tightened. "They know," Rachel said from the doorway, holding 2 mugs of coffee. "How?" She nodded toward my phone. "Your grandmother." I hesitated, then listened to the first voicemail. My dad's voice was different. Tight, controlled panic just beneath the surface. "Listen," he said. "There are legal matters we need to discuss. Family matters." Family. The word made my stomach churn. "They're scared," Rachel said. "Good," I replied. Another voicemail came in, this time from my mother. Her voice cracked. "Please come back. We didn't mean what we said." I laughed bitterly. They meant every word. Rachel sat beside me. "They didn't expect you to land on your feet." I looked at her. "What do I do?" She met my gaze steadily. "You stop letting them decide your worth." That afternoon, we drove to see my grandmother. The same woman who had sat at the table in silence while I was thrown out. She looked smaller in her bed, frail in a way I wasn't prepared for. Her eyes filled with tears the moment she saw me. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I should have protected you." I stood there, heart pounding. "Tell me everything," I said. She nodded slowly. "There's one more thing," she said. Something your parents don't know that you already have. My breath caught. What? She reached for my hand. Proof. The proof they couldn't destroy. My grandmother's hand felt fragile in mine, but her grip tightened when she said the word. Proof. I pulled a chair closer to her bed. Proof of what? Of what they did, she said. And of who you really are. She glanced toward the door as if expecting someone to burst in at any moment, then reached under her pillow and pulled out a small, worn envelope. The paper was yellowed, the corners soft from age. I kept this hidden, she said. Your grandfather told me to. He knew your parents would try to destroy it. Rachel leaned forward. What is it? My grandmother slid the envelope into my hands. Open it. Inside were copies of documents, hospital records, handwritten notes, and one photograph that made my breath catch. It was a picture of a newborn baby, wrapped in a thin blanket. Me. And standing beside the hospital bed was Rachel. Young, exhausted, smiling through tears. On the back of the photo, written in careful ink, were the words, "My child. Never forget." My chest tightened so hard it hurt. They told everyone the adoption was legal and voluntary, my grandmother said. But your grandfather didn't believe them. He started asking questions. I looked at the documents again. Dates didn't line up. Signatures were missing. One form had been filed weeks late. This isn't legal, I whispered. No, Rachel said. It isn't. My grandmother nodded. Your parents relied on intimidation and silence. They assumed no one would challenge them. They assumed I'd never know, I said. She squeezed my hand. But you were always meant to. Before I could respond, the door to the room opened. My parents walked in. My mother froze when she saw me. You're here, she said weakly. My dad's eyes immediately went to the envelope in my hands. His face drained of color. What is that? He demanded. I stood up. The truth, I said. My mom shook her head. You shouldn't be listening to them. Why? I asked. Because they tell the truth. My dad stepped forward. You don't understand the situation. I understand perfectly, I replied. You stole me. That's not what happened, my mom snapped. We saved you. From what? I shot back. From having a mother who loved me. Rachel moved beside me. You manipulated a scared young woman and falsified documents. My dad clenched his jaw. You have no proof. I held up the envelope. Wrong. Silence crashed over the room. My mother's voice dropped to a whisper. You don't know what you're doing. I know exactly what I'm doing, I said. For the first time in my life. My grandmother spoke then, her voice trembling but firm. I will not protect you anymore. My dad turned to her. Mother. No, she said sharply. I watched you punish this child for a crime they didn't commit. I stayed quiet out of fear. That ends now. My mom's eyes filled with tears. We raised you, she said to me. We gave you everything. You gave me a roof, I replied. Not love. That hurt landed. My dad exhaled slowly. What do you want? The question surprised me. I thought of every night I'd wondered what was wrong with me. Every time I'd tried harder just to be tolerated. I want my name, I said. My real one. My mom flinched. I want my inheritance, I continued. Every part of it. My dad swallowed. And I want you to stop pretending you ever did this for me. They didn't argue. They couldn't. Lawyers got involved quickly after that. The truth moved faster than lies once it had daylight. The trust my grandfather created was ironclad. Attempts to contest it failed almost immediately. Within weeks, my parents' carefully crafted image began to crack. Whispers spread. Questions followed. And for the first time, they were the ones being looked at differently. I moved in with Rachel temporarily. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. We talked late into the night, about missed years, shared habits, quiet similarities we were still discovering. One evening, she smiled at me and said, You always belonged somewhere else. I believed her. Then came the message that told me part 5 was inevitable. A formal invitation. Final family meeting. Estate matters. Mandatory attendance. I folded the letter slowly. They want closure, Rachel said. No, I replied. They want control. I stood up, feeling something I'd never felt before around them. Calm. I'll go, I said. But this time, I won't leave empty-handed. Walking away with my name. The conference room smelled like polished wood and expensive silence. That was the first thing I noticed when I walked in. My parents were already seated at the long table, stiff-backed and composed, like this was just another business meeting. Their lawyer sat between them, folders neatly stacked. My grandmother was there too, thinner than before but sharper somehow, her cane resting against the chair. Rachel sat beside me. For once, I wasn't walking into that room alone. My father stood when he saw me. Thank you for coming. I didn't respond. I took my seat and placed my own folder on the table, the one Rachel and I had prepared carefully. Copies of documents. Records. Proof. The lawyer cleared his throat. We're here to resolve outstanding estate matters and ensure a smooth transition. A smooth transition for who? I asked calmly. The lawyer hesitated. My mother's lips pressed into a thin line. For everyone involved, he said. I leaned back in my chair. Let's not pretend this is about harmony. My father sighed. We don't want this to get ugly. It already did, I replied. You made sure of that on Thanksgiving. My mother flinched, but she didn't deny it. Rachel slid a document forward. Let's start with the trust. The lawyer skimmed it, his expression tightening. Yes, the trust is valid. There's no legal ambiguity. No, I said. There isn't. My father rubbed his temples. You have to understand, we didn't think you'd ever find out. That's not an excuse, I replied. That's a confession. Silence settled over the table. My grandmother spoke then, her voice steady. I raised you to be better than this. My mother looked at her. You don't know how hard it was. I know exactly how easy it would have been to tell the truth, my grandmother replied. My father straightened. What do you want? The same question as before, but this time he sounded tired. I want everything my grandfather intended for me, I said. Nothing more. Nothing less. The lawyer nodded slowly. That will be honored. And, I continued, I want my name legally restored. My mother's breath caught. That name, I said, meeting her eyes, is the only thing you never truly owned. The lawyer made notes. That can be arranged. I opened my folder and slid one final document forward. And this, I said, is a statement I expect you both to sign. My father frowned. What is it? A written acknowledgement, I replied, that what you did was wrong and that I owe you nothing. My mother shook her head. That's unnecessary. No, I said softly. It's not. The room went quiet again. Finally, my father nodded. Fine. The pen scratched against paper. When it was done, I felt something inside me loosen, like a knot I hadn't realized I'd been carrying my whole life. The meeting ended without hugs, without apologies. But it ended. That mattered. Weeks later, my name was officially changed back. Seeing it on paper felt surreal, like meeting myself for the first time. Rachel framed the document and hung it in her living room. You should keep it, she said. No, I replied. I know who I am now. That's enough. The inheritance helped. I won't pretend it didn't. It gave me stability, freedom, options. But the real gift was something else. Belonging. I spent time with Rachel, learning pieces of my life that had been stolen. Stories. Family traits. Quiet habits that mirrored hers without either of us realizing it. I visited my grandmother often. We talked honestly, sometimes painfully, but always truthfully. One afternoon, she said, "You were never the problem." I believed her. As for my parents, we don't speak. They've tried. Letters. Messages. Carefully worded apologies that never quite cross into accountability. I don't respond. Not out of spite. Out of self-respect. Thanksgiving came around again the next year. Rachel cooked. The table was smaller. The food was simpler. The laughter was real. Halfway through dinner, she raised her glass. To family, she said. I smiled and raised mine. To the truth, I replied. And for the first time in my life, I felt full.